Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Adams, and along with Patrick Boyle, we are here on behalf of Ralph Turpin. Now, you will learn a lot during this trial about Ralph. You will learn that he is 34 years old. He is a father, and he is a son. And this whole morning, you heard a lot about O-Block. But at this trial, you'll also learn what Ralph is not. He is not a member of O-Block. He never has been, never was, never. Does not have any tattoos of gang membership. He's never even been to Parkway Gardens. Now let's talk a little bit about Ralph's history. Ralph grew up at 46th and Ellis on the south side in the low end. And he grew up down the street from Mr. Weekly. See, Mr. Weekly's mother and Mr. Turpin's mother knew each other. They didn't go to school together, but they were from the same neighborhood. And when Mr. Weekly grew up and moved away, the two young men lost touch. But there was no bad blood. There's no animosity. There was no feud. Now let's get to the reason we're all here, to August 4th, 2020. Ralph was absolutely present on Oak Street that day. You're going to see a video of him. You'll see a video of him in Montclair. You'll see a video of him running for his life down the street on Oak Street. That is undisputed. He was there with a man named Adonis Dent. You're going to meet Mr. Dent during this trial. He'll be a witness. And he'll testify that him and Ralph went down to Milani to look for clothes for Mr. Dent's child. But make no mistake about it, perhaps the hardest thing to do in a case like this, that is so filled with emotion, is to judge it unemotionally and objectively. But that is your job, and that's why we chose you, because we all know you're up to the task. Ralph never called anyone to come and kill Carlton Weekly, never gave him his location. Ralph runs into Mr. Weekly at the Milani store. A pure coincidence. They're both there buying clothes. But nothing happens in the store. There's no interaction. There's no confrontation. And we know they know each other, right? Because they grew up down the street. That's not a secret. But again, they have no bad blood, no feuds. Adonis Dent will say that he saw Ralph, that Ralph saw Mr. Weekly at Milani, and he'll say there was no confrontation. Nothing happened in the store. That is all. You'll also hear evidence that after Ralph left Milani, he's chased down the street by a man with a gun. You're going to see him running on Oak Street, and that is how he winds up at the Montclair store. You will see and hear Ralph talking on the phone, trying to make sense of what just happened, explaining that he was chased by a man with a gun and he wanted someone to pick him up. And if you remember from the government's opening this morning, they showed you a slide where Ralph says, "Badass and them are on the way." Badass never came to pick him up. And you'll hear the whole conversation during this trial. And you'll see and be able to observe Ralph's manner and demeanor in this phone call. He's terrified. He's scared. He's talking loudly. He's not hiding his conversation. He's being recorded by a store employee because, again, he's this man being very animated talking about what just happened to him. But remember though, Mr. Weekly is not a private citizen. He's not someone that Ralph only knows by himself. He is a musician, a rap artist who made it big from Ralph's neighborhood. And a lot of people recognized Mr. Weekly that day on Oak Street. He was, as the government said, a star. And you will not hear any evidence that Ralph held any rank with any gang, any authority, any position that would be able to mobilize 2 cars with people to drive 20 minutes to Oak Street to commit this heinous crime. When Ralph is in Montclair, he's scared, like I said, because someone chased him. And he goes in the store for protection to call for a ride home. He's got his car there. That's true. And you're going to hear from Mr. Dent what they were doing while they were inside Montclair. And Ralph goes outside. When he goes outside, he hears the shots. And you're going to hear Mr. Dent say he was being nosy. And you're going to hear Mr. Dent say that he wanted to walk and see what the commotion was about. And you're actually going to see that video of Mr. Dent leading the way to see where Mr. Weekly fell. So what happens next? Ralph tries to leave once the police are on the scene investigating this murder. He tries to leave. He's stopped. He's questioned by police. He's searched. More importantly, he's cooperative. And the police let him go home. The same police who were investigating this crime. They did the same thing to Mr. Weekly, to Mr. Dent. They searched him. They interviewed him. They let them both go home. Ralph didn't have a weapon. Neither did Mr. Dent. Plainly, ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Turpin was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, at the end of this case, my colleague, Mr. Boyle, will come up here and ask you to return a verdict that is consistent with the evidence in this case, with the law, but most importantly, the facts. And that is that Ralph Turpin is not guilty of the murder of Mr. Weekly, and he's not guilty of conspiracy to murder Mr. Weekly. Thank you.